Hey guys, it's Tony Guittara here from Achievers Group with another passionate, practical business video vitamin. Guys, I wanted to really talk to you about a very important topic. If you are in the business of sales, if you are in the business of marketing, if you are in the business of communication, if you're in the business of leadership, one of the most important aspects is not your ability to talk, it's your ability to ask really profound questions. You know, I'm a business advisor and coach now, and I remember in my early days, I used to try to dominate conversations. You know, and I used to tell people what I thought that they used to do. But I actually realized that I wasn't really developing people. Then I stumbled upon this philosophy of asking really, really good questions. And there are certain questions that you should ask, and there are certain questions you should not ask. And especially if you're in a sales environment, I wanted to show you the process of what questions you ask in a sales situation. So if we can just share some of these slides, I think they will really bless you, and I think they will give you an enormous amount of insight into the power of questions in a sales marketing environment. So let's just talk about the types of questions. Now, closed questions are questions that actually give you either a yes or no. Now, the difficulty with them is that they can sound like a cross-examination. Now, I'll give you an example of a closed question. Now, you might use closed questions towards the end of an agreement. It would be, John, when would you like that delivered, Tuesday or Wednesday? See, that is a closed question. It actually only has two alternatives. Another example would be, what color would you like that, black or gray? The customer says gray, that is still a closed question. As opposed to, what color would you like that would be an open question, which may not be the necessary appropriate step towards the end of an agreement. Now, be very careful. If you use too many closed questions, you can sound like a cross-examination. The next type of question is an open-ended question. Now, the open-ended questions are usually why, how, tell me about questions. They are really where you just really are seeking information. They tend to be brilliant at the beginning of a relationship. They create comfort and trust, and they actually build a profound connection. The next type of question is a question that, unfortunately, you may have actually experienced this, and it's pretty insulting sometimes. Now, I don't know why people still ask these questions. I think they are really dumbass questions, personally, and I think they are incredibly stupid. Now, I'll give an example of a leading question. They're usually undesirable, and they result in false or slanted information. For example, let's just say a network marketer rings you up and says to you, okay, Tony, how would you like to earn more money? Now, to me, that is a leading question. Like, what person is going to say, no, I want to be poor for the rest of my life? Like, how would you like to earn $1 million is a leading question. It's a question that only has one answer, so why ask the question to begin with? And I really think that many people are becoming so much more intelligent in the marketplace that those sort of questions can be very insulting to many people, and it really puts people off sometimes. And I know they get trained and ask this leading question, but I would really challenge those sort of questions moving forwards. The next type of question is a high gain question. Now, these are brilliant because they give before they take. Usually a high gain question is where I offer the prospect some information that I've discovered, that I've actually sort of like really investing into them about what I found in their industry, and that is a high gain question. So it really it invests profoundly into the prospect, into the customer, into the team member before it takes. And the last type of question is one of the best questions you could ever ask. in a sales environment, in a communication environment, is the reveal question. It's usually the big kahuna. It's usually, how does that make you feel? What do you think about that? It really is what I consider to be the counselor question. When you've got a good counselor, a counselor doesn't really talk a lot. They just really ask you really good questions to move from your head to your heart. And what I wanted to do now is I wanted to give you a 4-step process of consultation selling questions. Now, this might be really important, especially if you're in a service-based industry, especially if you are selling coaching or training, if you are doing advising, if you are selling services. And I wanted to really go through what are the 4-step process, and this is it. Step 1 is high gain questions. High gain questions where you're offering information to the prospect, you're investing profoundly in them. Step 2 would be the open-ended questions. So look, I just want to ask you about your business, about your situation. Do you mind if I take some notes as why we're talking? Closed questions is where you actually close it and narrow it down. And reveal questions is where you ask the big why. So I just wanted to really share with you my observation and my absolute passion that salespersonship is so little to do with how much you talk. It's about your ability to listen and to really ask profound questions. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to share with you the 4 different types of questions and really ask yourself to hone in on what is the most appropriate question that we should be asking at what particular stage. And certainly have a look at this 4-step process of consultation selling questions and start to really mirror that in your own sales process. So until next time, God bless you. Have the most amazing week.